And we're live.
All right, hello and welcome back to the final stream, the Hackathon showcase for BCH BLAZE 2025 edition, aka the 2026 lock-in edition. Today is Saturday, the 29th of November. I'm your host, Jeremy, from the Bitcoin Cash podcast, and today we are going to be firing off a couple of quick announcements, a few things everyone needs to know. We're going to talk through the showcase of not all of the projects because we had so many for BLAZE, but a couple of the ones that had nice videos that we can show and chat a little bit about the different things people chose to make as part of BLAZE. We're going to check in with the judges and get their impressions of how things went. Of course, we're going to announce the winners of the Chipnet track, the Mainnet track, and the Bounties. That's what everybody's here for. That's the main game, and give some recognition and plaudits to the best submissions. And of course, we're going to just wind things down and sign off from what has been a pretty big month and a half, really, of BLAZE-related activity and feverish BCH building. So to start off with, we have a quick little announcement, which is that BLISS will be coming back in 2026 from the 15th to the 17th of May 2026. So previously we had done the 14th and 15th and the 13th and 15th, but because it lines up with the weekend, this time around we are doing the 15th to the 17th of May. It will once again be in Ljubljana, Slovenia, and you can be part of the live celebrations for the Layla upgrade activating on Mainnet there. Of course, as with the previous years, tickets will be sold as NFTs, and you can get your own customized favorite Layla from our collection. And that's most of the info I have for you now. There'll be much more about it coming out in Q1 2026. So if you're interested in attending, you can, of course, follow the @BCH BLISS handle on Twitter, or keep listening to the BCH podcast and following the BCH bullet. There'll be loads of information in there about it. But for people who have been asking, yes, we are going to be back in Ljubljana, Slovenia, at least for one more year, if not more. We'll wait and see how things go. And of course, the BLAZE winners that we are announcing today will be getting tickets. So we're hoping to see them there as well too. I think it's going to be the biggest BLISS yet, certainly with the way things are trending and with how excited and how much growth we've seen in the BCH community. So 15th to 17th of May, Ljubljana, Slovenia. Block it out in your calendar now, and you can be there for the best BCH event of the year. It's not called BLISS for nothing. You will love it, I promise. Okay, we've got a quick cash stamp as well to give away for our most dedicated followers. Whoever wants to grab a few sats, thank you to Stamps.cash for providing us with those. Been an absolutely fantastic sponsor, and actually several of the BLAZE projects did some kind of integration with cash stamps. So it's great to see that also spreading around the ecosystem. And a quick mention as well of our Layla explainer video. Like I said, the upgrade will be going live at BLISS on 15th of May 2026. But if you have been a little bit out of the loop, or you haven't been able to follow every detail of what exactly is the Layla upgrade, what's included in it, what's not, how does it work, what's the benefit, etc. It's all explained in this 5-minute video, which you can find on YouTube or on the Twitter page for the Bitcoin Cash, for BLAZE, actually. It's on BLAZE, but also retweeted by the Bitcoin Cash podcast. So just look up what is the Layla upgrade on YouTube, Bitcoin Cash podcast, and you'll find it, and it should clarify to you what everybody has been so excited about, what all this building on Chipnet has been aiming towards in BLAZE, and just generally the state of the BCH community as we become, the most powerful UTXO or even general cryptocurrency in existence. Okay, that's our announcements. To check in now with Jonathan, the visionary behind BLAZE, the man who started it all. Jonathan, how have you felt things have gone now that we're coming to the final moments of BLAZE 2025? Has it matched up to your expectations from when you first envisioned the concept? You're muted. Is it just me that can't hear?
I hear some tiny little voice, like extremely small.
Yeah, I see that you're not muted, but no audio is coming through.
It was all working before the stream.
Yeah, it was doing great.
Maybe just quickly reconnect there, Jonathan, and we'll try again in a minute. Okay, all right. While Jonathan is reconnecting, I wonder if, Jett, do you have any thoughts on the whole BLAZE experience?
Don't put me on the spot.
Exactly.
Well,
you didn't submit a project. What's going on?
No, I've had one day.
He's an old-time hacker for the hackathons, for the BCH
Exactly.
hackathons.
Yeah, I should probably. So like, it got me interested in like doing smart contracts, and finally, it's been long enough that I've been, around the space that I should have done something a while ago. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a little sad. Like, not sad. I'm a little salty. I should have kept some of those embers.
Yeah, the Ember prize has been doing fantastic. Definitely. And we will touch on that briefly as well later. But yeah, possibly the most successful tiny token launch of the BCH
project.
ecosystem so
the
far.
Most successful project was the organizers.
That's amazing.
Token.
Well, we've got the network effect going in our favor. Everybody is interested in BLAZE, even if they're not interested in each other's projects. Maybe Jonathan, tell us, how's it been, the BLAZE hackathon?
Right. As I was saying when people can hear, when we started, we weren't entirely sure what the thing would end up looking at, and this is a first-time hackathon for us. So I had both, to some degree, like wildly too high expectations, and at the same time, much too low. My focus was mostly going to be around like the scripting engine and smart contracts themselves. And after we added the mainnet track, we made room for a lot of various types of contributions that aren't directly and focused on the scripting side. And I think that was a good move. This allowed us to grow. And I also think that a lot of the people who ended up contributing still learned a little bit about what's happening with the upgrade that is coming. So yeah, I think I said like in an update at some point to some of our sponsors, I said that like, hey, I expect about 20 submissions to come through. That's the scope and the scale of it. And at the end of it, we had 47 submissions. And sure, most of those were AI spam and whatnot. And so we ended up filtering out things that didn't meet the minimum eligibility criteria. But we ended up with 21 actually valid submissions. And there was real competitions for the actual prizes. It wasn't as clear-cut as I expected it to be.
Yeah, very, very interesting. And I know you also, obviously, we'll hear from the judges and see the results later, but you made at least one very interesting observation about the judging criteria from your point of view that you might want to elaborate on. I think having that insight from behind the scenes,
Yeah, so when we talk about like what the judging criteria would be, each judge was given an opportunity to kind of summarize like how they look at things. And we put those on the website, and in the one of the first live streams, the judges also elaborated a bit in their own discussion. But when I then now looked at all the judging criteria, something stood out to me as not having been fully expressed, but very, very important. So that is security. So we're working with money, and apparently it was so obvious to each and every one of the judges that security was an important component to be considered, that neither of them mentioned it in how they were going to do the evaluations.
I would like to protest. That was one of my criteria.
Okay. Yeah. It didn't come across as one of the main or big things. And of course, it's not the only thing, right? It's just that when I looked at the final results, it kind of made me happy to see that, hey, this is actually important to all of the judges, even if it's not expressly strictly the ones that we put on the website to summarize it.
Yes, and what did you feel about the fact that from my point of view, basically, BLAZE has done a fantastic job of like surfacing a lot of talent. You know, the projects is one thing, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of follow through in the builders that really put themselves out there to build in public, in terms of not only the prizes that we're going to hand out, which should hopefully give them a little bit of a boost, both financially and also, you know, in terms of validation from the community and morale, enthusiasm, right? But also just the visibility to the outside community. A lot of people have been watching the BLAZE streams and privately commenting to me, and I would imagine to you too, about how they've been really impressed with the BLAZE streams, and they, you know, like this project or they like that project, that kind of thing. So I think that's been one of the biggest lessons for me, is that aside from BLAZE itself being a self-contained competition, the main benefit is going to be, as we hope, to help promote people joining into the ecosystem and becoming builders over time, right?
Yeah, so traditionally, if you look at why people run hackathons and you go look on Wikipedia, what is a hackathon and so on, the sources are going to tell you that one of the main reasons for anyone to run a hackathon is to have people learn your tools, right? Become acquainted with your services and your product, so that in some future case where they are called upon to do something, they will remember that, hey, I did this once upon a time and it worked well for me back then. I'm going to do that now as well. And so one of the hopes with BLAZE, of course, is that we're going to onboard developers from other ecosystems into the Bitcoin Cash ecosystem. As for how well we deliver on this, of course, it's going to be a matter of time to see what happens. But I have early indications that we are going to see at least 2 fairly significant teams form that are going to do a bit more ambitious projects in the BCH ecosystem as a result of having participated in BLAZE.
Wow, that's already great. We haven't even finished, and things are already rolling. The next thing, right?
There's even there's a third one that's been onboarded, which is one that Jason Dresner talks about often, which is AI. So Jonathan earlier mentioned about AI, and I just wanted to clarify that using AI doesn't mean that your project got disqualified. That was a little bit ambiguous from what he said. What he was talking about was projects that were just like, you know, tell an AI to produce a project and then just dump it on, and that was it. And then there was no real engagement with the project. But the other big onboarding, the third one is just AI itself, because now there's enough material out there, enough samples, enough example code, enough libraries that AIs have ingested it, and they can help you build BCH projects now. You got to be very careful because safety is important, and but it's there, and it's obviously working because a bunch of the projects use it.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, I also, yeah, it is, and it's only going to accelerate, of course, and it's a big side benefit from people building in public, pushing up their code to GitLab or GitHub or whatever. You know, it's really makes a big difference. And I think in a way, it's funny. It's like attacking the project on the problem on 2 fronts, you know, because humans are very simple. AI is kind of like humans, right? Humans are the same. The people watching BLAZE are also kind of getting like that LLM input of like, wow, there's action and activity going on in BCH. Look at these cool projects that are launching. I could maybe jump in and do something like that as well. And as well as the 2 and 3 things that you mentioned there, I definitely am also going to be starting a project with some of the people who are submitting for my bounty, and I've got some follow-up already going there. So things are definitely rolling. It's been a great boost to the BCH ecosystem momentum in general, I think. Jonathan, I was wondering maybe also if you had something that you've learned or one thing that maybe we didn't do right. Of course, it was the first time, so we're never going to get everything perfect. But if you have any reflections on what we could maybe do better next time.
Tons of things that we could do better. Yeah, I think the absolutely largest one for me is to have more clear definitions of what the requirements are. We had various communications and we have different text in different places. But I think it should be important that the criteria we use if we do this again can be very easily and very quickly determined. For example, I think if we do this again, everyone should submit a transaction they did on-chain. If you never went as far as you got a transaction on-chain, then you didn't reach the end of the hackathon with a working submission, and you should be disqualified. But we didn't declare that that was the case for this version, so we have not used that as a sole discretionary. It's just, yeah, that's one of the things. There's absolutely more. I'm blanking for it now, but there's absolutely
more.
One thing I noticed. Lessons will be learned.
Yes, yeah. One thing I want to mention so that I don't forget it for next year when I review this stream is I think we can definitely do a little bit better about helping people come together to form teams. I think we left it quite open. We said, okay, you can hack solo or you can hack with up to 4 people. And we have seen some cases of people finding each other through Blaze and then forming a team and then collaborating and then hopefully also continuing on into the future. And part of maybe your inspiration was about that because so much of the stuff you've done in the BCH ecosystem has been the same as me, same as everyone, you know, no man is an island, right? So I think maybe next year we can, if we like start a little bit earlier perhaps, or we can have some kind of matching service. It would even be a great Blaze project, would be somebody, you know, having a way for people to put up sort of their BCH resume in a way, maybe even if we provide some structure around, like most hackathon teams, you know, need an engineer, maybe front end, back end, a sort of sales marketing person, a design business person, you know, something like that. And we had some little team roles that you could adopt would also help people to find, oh, I'm this person and I need this person. And I think that would form a lot more teams more quickly, and then those will produce more impressive projects and also be more educational because collaboration is multiplicative. What do you make of that?
Yeah, so I think teams are great, and I think the outcome of the judgment we had this would have looked different if more people had formed teams, because very few people are really good at all the parts that are required to come across as a really serious competition. But I also think that Blaze is a new thing, and if you go back and look at it, no one knew how serious we were going to be. No one knew if we were going to follow through. It's pretty like when you're new, you don't have all that trust, particularly not trust in outside communities, right? People outside of BCH. And so making and forming teams and doing more serious submissions is a higher risk to take. Now, with having done Blaze this year, I think next year it'll be more clear that people can see, okay, so this isn't a one-time off thing. And they can see that, okay, it did pay out last time. They didn't cheat everyone,
Yes.
for example. And also, there's going to be a BLISS conference in between. And so some of the people that go to BLISS will probably meet and form relationships with others when they are there. That helps them know who they want to work with if they come back to Blaze next year. That said, I remember one more thing that I think is a lesson learned, and that is that the duration we have for Blaze was actually a very good one. We have lots of people who have told us that having those 8 or so days was really good because they could choose when they did what parts. And they actually managed to get past the starting hurdles, right? When you go into an entirely new ecosystem, sometimes it can take a while to wrap all the concepts around in your head before you decide to actually figure out how it works. Now, for next year, if we do it again, We should, of course, make it so that it ends on a Monday, so that no matter what time zone you're in, you get the entirety of the Sunday to complete your submission. This is a slight oversight. We will do better.
Amazing. Okay, and finally, final question. You can take this any way you want, but you are not actually. Oh, seems like it might have dropped out. Never mind. We'll get back to Jonathan later on that. Okay, I also have here a bit of a showcase. We have some of the BCH projects that were built during Blaze, especially the ones that submitted videos that we wanted to show off and give a bit of a chance for, if the team are here in the chat, they can answer any questions, or really just to give people a chance to see what was the kind of thing that got built during Blaze. Our first one is FlowGuard by winszn. Jett is going to play the video for us there.
Good day, everyone. My name is Timothy. I want to showcase FlowGuard, an on-chain treasury management, which is non-custodial to combat the risk of manual multi-sigs and spreadsheets used by BCH teams and DAOs, which is currently running on Chipnet and BCH network. Right, so you can create a vault in the dashboard and make proposals with the wallets that are signed in, or with the signers using their public key and the wallet address. So let's create a vault quickly. Alright, we can choose to make the vault public or private. Next, then the amount you want to deposit into the vault, let's say 0.01 BCH. The duration, the cycle you want to unlock, the amount you want to unlock per cycle. Then you can fill this with the signers. So basically, I'll just copy this for the second sign. Then I will duplicate it here. Next, the amount first, the maximum cap per period. Let's say 0.0001. Next, then you see a preview of the details you have filled in, and we'll confirm the transaction. Right, you can see we are depositing 0.01. This switch into the vault. This is the contract address and the Chipnet network. Alright, we have that processed already. Usage day, we can see the signers, we can see the amount deposited, the on-chain balance. Then we can view this on the Explorer. See, we have currently one transaction because the one signers make a transaction, and what other signers can create proposals and make other modifications, which will be approved by a minimum of the assigned signers during the vault creation.
All right, there we go. So just ripping through that one. This is, of course, something that the BCH community have actually been talking quite a lot about, the idea of having DAO vaults and trying to manage more extensive financial management at scale. Maybe Emergent, I'm sure you would have some thoughts on whether this is a completely necessary piece of the BCH ecosystem going forward, especially as we try to level up to match bigger ecosystems like Ethereum, right?
I absolutely have thoughts on this. So yes, what wallets can do right so far in most of all of crypto since forever is just send and receive, or click sign to say yes to some random app that's telling you to do something. But I think this is a significant part of the future is an app that does some kind of significant financial work for you. Like instead of having a bank that you go to the bank and they deal with all of it for you, you go to an app and the app knows how to do some very useful protocols, such as vaults. This is like the most basic vault you could have, or one type of vault. Yeah, and so you go to the app and it's able to help you do all kinds of financial things, just basic things like I want a bank account that doesn't allow me to pay out all of the money at once, which is what this does. And yeah, I think this is a big part of the future, is this kind of apps. And then once the apps are done well and you have a system that can let the user work with it and have all the trust be on their side, where they don't have to trust the app very much, but they can still use it. Yeah, I think that's the future, actually.
Yeah, and you can see it already, like in the BTC and Ethereum ecosystem. You see huge money going into developing these kind of projects, because also there's so much money at stake, right? It's like self-fulfilling prophecy. The bigger you get, the more important the security is, which means more money comes in and you get even bigger, right? So I'm very bullish on this type of project, and also for personal security, it's going to be increasingly important, as well as the ability of the ecosystem to trust, right? Because we've seen with Flipstarter and FundMe, and well, before that, maybe just donations or handshake deals, there's been like a progression as the BCH ecosystem has got better and better about raising money collectively. But then there was the smart BCH, like bridge collapse, and different elements that have just proven if you leave any small gap in pooled funding, you're going to end up with a big problem, right? So that's another area I can see this kind of technology being huge, right?
I'll even go so far as to say that the first business, organization, individual, whoever who makes an app like this that has significant traction, like a very basic app that's just, come and here's where to save your money, really simple things like that, that will, whether they want it to or not, that will turn into a platform, because this is like the fundamental basics, right, of finance. And so if you make a useful thing and people start coming, you're going to be totally incentivized to start growing that as a platform where you do other things as well, right? Okay, now you can put your money in a vault and it's safe and great. Okay, how about maybe let people do P2P loans now, or let people do some kind of other financial protocols and so forth. So yeah, this is a big deal.
Amazing. We did have Tim here from the project. I'm not sure if he can hear us or not, but if you can, if anybody has any questions that they would like to ask about this project, we can take them now. I wonder, Jonathan, maybe you had thought on this project as well.
I want to know where he got the idea from and how he chose this one, because I need this project. So I wonder where he got the idea from.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll see. Maybe he'll send a message momentarily. In the meantime, we've got our second video here. It's from CoinGraze by Kilian. This is actually an interesting project because he has presented this previously at BLISS. So there was already existing momentum. It was already a bit known to the BCH community, but I have been loving this little demo that we're going to show off right here. It comes without sound, I believe. So basically, he's got his Cash and Eyes wallet there, of course, and these wheat tokens, grain tokens that you can buy with BCH, which let you interact with the app, and they are like the fuel that you can then use to feed animals at petting zoos around the world, and I guess on farms as well, as an alternative way to monetize. So here you have handing off 4 grain, which earns him some little experience. And you can see the chickens there come in to eat the grain as it gets dispensed. So you can watch live and feel like a good person. There's also some kind of monetization with an egg reward system, which I think is part of leveling up or something like that. And similar here, you can see all the animals rushing in to get fed. I mean, this is kind of in a long lineage of BCH projects. There was a very famous chicken feeder app several years ago, maybe 2018, 2019. But this
IOZetta.
This is starting to expand it and take it to the next level. I can easily imagine myself clicking that grain button. You feel like such a good person. Some animals get fed and BCH transactions get made. Seems like a win all around to me. You're going to be feeding a lot of chickens Emergent.
Oh yeah, every project that has ever come out like this, I absolutely used it. I think the first one that he made was it was like this whole robot arm that would move around, and you could control the robot arm. So Kilian's a very serious engineer, like not only a software engineer, but a hardware engineer as well. So he makes very serious stuff. These feeders are industrial grade, like literally industrial grade, certified and so forth. So yeah, this is serious business. I'll absolutely be using it. And yeah, if you saw it when you click the button and then it said no egg this time, that was part of the gamification that he's done since the BLISS conference. So now it has this whole gamification system where when you donate, it's through a smart contract, and there's a chance that you get, like the donation turns into an egg, and then there's a chance that the egg turns into something, and there's a whole progression of gamification to it. So yeah, of course, I'll absolutely be using this. Although it's a bit expensive, I think this is still in demo mode if you actually do the calculation of how much that costs to feed those animals.
Yes, indeed. And I think that's something that the BCH ecosystem as a whole is really going to potentially become a leading force in, is thinking about these gamification and monetization loops, because that's already huge. Like with social media, those companies have poured huge amounts of resources into getting that right, but they never had access, or they have chosen not to get deeply involved in cryptocurrency, which can really take it to the next level by making things interactive between different apps, by making them monetize in different ways and with different conditions. Jonathan, will you be feeding some animals as well?
I have in the past, and I've been keeping an eye on this, waiting for it to actually get to a production release. I have kids, and I think my kids are going to have a lot of fun with it.
Yes, absolutely. All right, Tim is reporting that he might be able to answer a question. If you can hear me, Tim. Yeah, go on.
I did want to say one thing before we get off of CoinGraze. Sorry. There's one more detail that I think Kilian has done very well, and I think it's worth mentioning to everybody who's listening to the future entrepreneurs, is Kilian has made this so that it works with various payment methods, right? Because this isn't something that only needs to work with BCH. And this is an important lesson, I think, right? Like, make your app, make your business work, and use BCH to enhance your business. Unless your business is completely centered around some very particular feature of BCH that alone gives it power, then just make sure that your business is successful first, and then you can also use BCH in that business. So I thought it was great. I'm happy to see this project continuing. I'm sorry, Tim. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Well, I don't know if he's going to be able to connect. He was having some troubles, but Tim, if you can hear us, you had a question earlier, which was for your project FlowGuard, what was the inspiration? We'll see. Nope, maybe still having technical difficulties. In any case, we had one more quick little video to show off. This is a submission for Dance.cash by kavinm. This was inspired by the bounty that I actually offered. I offered 2 bounties, and one of them was about Dance.cash. It actually got 4 submissions, of which 2 were very, very compelling. So let's take a look at this one just briefly.
So I am working on Dance.cash, which is a BCH-powered platform similar to Eventbrite that allows people to both sign up for classes as dancers and studios to put up specific dance classes. Features include NFT tickets upon paying, and also the studios can track the revenues, see who's paying through fiat and versus BCH, and they also get all the information for the people that have signed up. So first, let's use Wallet Connect. I'm going to use Sleeve Wallet on my phone, and I'm going to screen record as well so you can see that. So let's connect Wallet here. I'm going to scan this and connect my Sleeve Wallet, and we'll pair. Okay, cool. So as a studio, first I'll go here, and what we'll do is we'll create an event. So let's call it BCH BLAZE Salsa. So let's just do salsa. We'll do today. 23 to 9 a.m. This doesn't really matter. I'm just going to put some stuff here, fill it out. We'll put the price as 0.1 cent, 50. So there's going to be real transactions.
It's a very cheap dance class.
Satoshi Silverblood. And then, so when you upload the image, it actually comes from, it goes through to IPFS. So this is not the ideal banner image, but it's BHS Blaze. So the best and hottest salsa class around. So then let's create the event. Cool. So yeah, I already created something else, but that was when I was testing, but you see BCH Blaze Salsa, 0 signups right now. So what I'll do now is I will disconnect, and I will sign up as a dancer. So I'll switch my Blaze wallet, Celine wallet. So we'll connect wallet again. And this one actually has no funds on it, but I'll still be able to sign up. So let's pair. Let's go to events. Let's see BCH Blaze Salsa, 0 out of 50 register. Let's register. So my Celine wallet is connected. And what we'll do is we'll just put in some, dummy data just to make this quicker. Let's do payment in BCH. It's going to process. I'm going to get an NFT on my Selene wallet. And yes, you see it on my Selene wallet, payment received. And yeah, you can see the actual asset, the one that 3809EF that just, yep. And then you can see also on here, registered BHS BLAZE. I wasn't able to get the Google Wallet integration done, but I put it here anyway. And you can click finish and view my tickets. And there, yeah, you can see the previous one, BSH BLAZE Salsa. Let me disconnect and switch to the studio view again. So wallets, my Selene wallet, and then connects it to the studio. And there. And then when I go to my studio, yeah, we can see a BSH BLAZE, someone signed up. We can click the dancers. We can see Joe Smith, the guy, whatever I just signed up with. So yeah, that's my demo, and thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.
So there you have it. I was actually thrilled by this submission because it hit all of the criteria in an incredibly slick way. The ability to sign up just by wallet connecting without having to, fiddle around with a lot of different information. I can see driving a lot of usage of Selene and also driving a lot of interest from people who are in the dance scene. I've had this idea for a very long time, and I spoke about it on the podcast a while ago with Alex, my mate who's a bachata dance teacher, and he also came to BLISS, and he got really excited about this whole concept. So he helped me to write the spec, and I showed this and the other submissions to him as well, and he was very impressed. So we are definitely going to be collaborating with the devs from probably both of those submissions in order to put together something real that we can launch. And yeah, I just thought it was great. I think the NFT that pays out automatically at the end is just the first of many, many things to come. We're starting with dance events because that's where we have a little bit of a niche and a little bit of momentum. But in my mind, you could see this exact same kind of thing once it was a little bit more advanced, becoming every kind of event. It could be used for BLISS and BCH conferences. It could be used for music events. It could be used for school excursions, like whatever, anything where you need to track groups of people showing up, checking in, and then they get a little reward. And then also if you want to follow up with them later by doing airdrops or other things like that, I just think it's amazing. Emergent, can we convince you to get into dancing with this kind of tech?
You can certainly try. I might even pay for events and not show up with.
Well, you got to get a little bit of energy in the room. That's the most important thing. I mean, I was trying to convince Jett last year, and he wouldn't jump in on the dancing until he saw it happening, and then he was like, "This is way too much fun. I've definitely got to be there next year, right?" Okay, he doesn't want to comment. Too sheepish. Okay, all right.
He's like,
that's it.
Don't make me dance.
No, but in all seriousness, and I was thrilled to get the response that I did to the bounty. It just showed to me the power of offering a public bounty, and then all of a sudden, two very competent devs showed up, and the other one didn't have an easy video that we could show, but it was same but different. It had some slightly different characteristics, but I think some kind of fusion of the two concepts I have very high hopes for. Okay, we're going to try one more time. Tim from FlowGuard, if you're able to hear me, just say hello. No, okay. He reassured me that this time he was able to, but yeah, still having some technical problems. Okay, we've got one final project to show off in the showcase. It is the BadgerSurvivors game from Sayoshi Nakamario. If anybody has not played this, you can load it up in your browser and have a little bit of a go of it. I don't know if we're going to have Jett maybe play a little bit on stream so that people could see how it goes. But when I was reviewing the projects, I had probably about 45 minutes of being addicted to this because it's very easy. You just click start game and you are straight into it. This is where the integrations come in. You could get the different NFTs to be a different type of badger. And I'd never played this type of game before, but you have to avoid the zombies and slowly level up your different weapons. Let's see, what's Jett going to go for? He seems like, oh, okay, the claw, upgraded claw. And then maybe, I don't know, the dirt blaster. I didn't try that one. But very fun and very addictive. And as you slowly level up, there seems like there could be a lot of integration maybe with the honey badges token as well. Jonathan, were you playing a little bit of badges? I believe you told me you were.
A little bit is an understatement. I first just played a little bit, but then someone told me there's an actual boss in the game, and I went ahead and played a bit more. It's a neat game. I never played Vampire Survivors, which I assume this is inspired by. But it's a very addictive little game loop that you kind of go one step at a time, and it's always slightly different, get new things all the time. Yeah, it's really nice. And I think most of the judges also kind of got stuck judging the game for a while. An hour, 5, maybe, who knows?
I actually have, because I pretty much anything that appears in BCH ecosystem, I try it and do it and see how it works and if it works and so forth. And one of the things that Sayoshi has done is the Badgers project itself, which this is, of course, obviously based on. But with that one, you can do something to mint NFTs, and they're not, there's no backing or anything behind them. They're just for fun to mint them, and like each one has its own stats, like a set of like 10 different stats, and has an appearance and whatnot, and special items. Some of them have items, whatever. It's you know, just regular NFT generator thing. And then you also have another project where you can like put something into a vault, and then the longer you hold it there, you get more of this fungible token out of it. And it's, again, just like a demonstration for fun. And so some people like me have a significant amount of this token sitting around, and also have some badgers. And when you load this game up and you have those, both of those things come into play. So if you have some of the badgers, they actually appear in the character selection. So you can choose one of yours. And if you choose one of yours, it has special stats that are different from the default when you start the game. And then if you have the fungible token that you can get from the lockup thing, which is which didn't have a use before, but now you come here, and if you have those, you can I think it turns it into like a turbo mode where it like makes it much harder if you have some of those tokens. So it's very cool that he's like slowly taken his projects and built them up and integrated them, and it's very impressive. Yeah,
it was so fun as well. To me, it just, like, it looks quite simple, you know. As soon as you start playing, you move around the badger, you dodge the zombies, and you get the idea. But then as you got into it, I was blown away, because I played, maybe 45 minutes, at how many different weapons and options and stuff there was. Like, for an 8-day project, he certainly, and he didn't even start at the very start, right? He was busy, so he just came in at the last second with some you know, hard work, and just delivered this. I think it's great to see a little ecosystem developing around the badges. It's great branding, and yeah, I love this project. I thought it was amazing, and I thought it showed the power just in general for hackathon participants on having a demo that was easy to get to grips with very fast. I was not one of the judges, but in looking through all the submissions, that was so obvious to me that it took about 10 seconds, and you could already kind of get it, what had been built and what the point was, right? Jett, were you going to say something?
No, I just almost died, and I was like
panicking.
Yeah.
He's trying not to embarrass himself in front of a million people.
All right. You can jump off stream before you die there, Jett. But if anybody hasn't played, there's no pause. You're just gonna die.
All right,
mate.
Sayoshi, listen.
Give me
a pause. Give me NFT save states.
There you go. Level up. It's paused.
You got to have the special NFT to pause it.
That would be good, actually. An NFT that recorded your level, so you could go back every time, and you wouldn't have to start from level 1. That would actually.
A lot of games are like that these days. They just don't use it with NFTs. You know, they progressively you unlock abilities, and even just basic game abilities you unlock by playing.
Yeah. Okay. One thing we wanted to give a quick mention of, now that we've shown off some of the projects, is that everybody got their Trailblazer tokens. I went through and sent those out to every project that was a valid project, according to the number of Dora Hacks contributors you had. So if you had 2 or 3 people, you would have got extra Trailblazer tokens, and you can distribute them among yourself. That is just a little memento from us. And like I mentioned before, we'll have a secret special use at BLISS 2026, even if you're physically not there. So you can hold on to those. We have one more cash stamp, and then we'll announce the winners. We'll get into that very shortly. But before that, I just wanted to take a moment to hear from Emergent. We've already heard a little bit, but just in general, his thoughts about how Blaze has gone, and maybe also about the project in general. Was there any patterns or things that surprised you or caught your eye in the submissions based on what you were expecting?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. You guys have done such a good job for the first generation of Hackathon. You know, the BLISS conference has been fantastic, and then the BLAZE Hackathon proved to be just as good, and a completely different thing. So you guys have really outdone yourself by having 2 great projects that are all fitting together very well. The hackathon itself has been super interesting. So the last time I judged a hackathon was a few years ago, and just between then and now, the difference is just, it's a completely different world because of the availability of AI that you can use to help you in projects, or to fake a project or whatever. It's a completely different world judging projects now than it was before. And I've taken a lot of notes and updated my approach to how to do judging, and probably some criteria we need to set for future hackathons. But I've just been impressed. So there's a lot of good work. You know, I came into it thinking that, you know, one of my criteria was real use cases, something that actually solves a problem for somebody. And I was thinking, because usually it's the case that most projects don't really go down that line very well, right? It's like a tech for the purpose of tech kind of things. But that wasn't the case here. All of them had some like meaningful reason to exist. You know, like, here's a thing which would be really helpful for this, or this is the way it would make gaming better, or something like that. So very impressed with that. The AI made it so that it took a lot of time to judge, actually. So that was something that kind of shocked me, because people can generate a huge volume of code in a very short amount of time with these things. So it's wild, right? Before, you'd have like a super tiny focused demo thing that somebody generates in like 1 day or 2 days. And now it's like, oh, here's a sprawling app and back end and front end that one person generated, you know, thousands of lines of code. And so it's, I don't know, it's just been very interesting, but it's been a very enjoyable experience.
But that's where I feel like something that maybe I've also learned from Blaze was, like I mentioned, the value of the demo. Having a demo that is the first thing on the page, cash tokens, donation address, demo, whether it's a YouTube demo or a link that you can click and you can see what it's supposed to do and how it's supposed to work and what the point is, and just instantly get to grip with it. Because then that means then you're looking at, even if there is a large volume of code, you're looking at it with that context in your mind, and you can more easily figure out which are the important pieces and which is maybe just generated at the edge. Or even if the whole thing was not really working, that would also just cut straight to the chase, right?
That's really nice to have. And I'm not sure if I would put that at the top of my list, because from a judging perspective, where we actually have to get in and look at things, for example, there were some of the demos that happened, or videos that happened. And if you watch the demo and you know how things work, you think, wait, that wasn't a real transaction. You know what I mean? And so you have to be careful with just demo videos or just demo apps, because not to say that they're misleading, but you know, when you're making something, everything is mocked up at first, especially when you're making a UI. And it's very dangerous when you're judging something to not know if something is mocked up or if it's actually doing the real business. And so I might have 2 other criteria higher than that on my ranking of things to improve for next time. But yeah, having something that is easily accessible is a huge, it's just a human factor thing, right? If somebody can try something and use it and say, oh, I see, it works, I like it. Yeah, it's really hard to argue with that.
And you were getting,
but it's also a high bar, right? That's quite
Yes.
a high bar. So
yes, but we did give 8 days, so I feel like there is a little
True.
time for that. It's not like a 48-hour hackathon where everything needs to be too scrappy. If you take it seriously, you know, you can put together quite a big project or quite a decent, you know, functioning prototype in that time. Jonathan was roasting you a little bit before about the, well, not roasting you, but the security element of it. I think maybe it surprised him in reviewing it. You did actually mention it as one of
absolutely.
your criteria, but the other two
Yeah.
did not. And yet it seems like projects with security loopholes or that were a bit scrappy on that front were just immediately struggling in the rankings. What do you make of that?
No, I wouldn't say that's the case. So, okay, yeah, I have a few things. So there were a few projects that are just fundamentally insecure. They just cannot be secure in what they do, which is, you know, one thing. But that, reality doesn't always care about whether something is fundamentally secure or not, right? And sometimes reality goes in a direction that somebody who's an engineer or whatever might not expect. So whatever, that's its own thing. But when it comes to actually designing something like such a system like that, where it's fundamentally not possible to be secure, but still you think about it and you think, how can I make this better? What can I do to make sure this is secure? What are the risks that exist here? What are the ways that this can go wrong? You know, just to be aware of that kind of stuff. And in a hackathon, those are hard things to think about, right? Because you're really just trying to get it working. But what I was looking for was anybody who had that kind of mentality and thought process in there. And that usually becomes apparent in the communication. Like, and you look in the code comments and it's like, oh, here's a part where I'm doing this authentication, but it's really dangerous and this part has to be improved because ABC, things like that. You know what I mean? Or in a smart contract, they explain explicitly, you know, the entry and exit conditions of this test piece of code. You know, they describe, okay, I don't know all the cases, but at least for the hackathon, something, this is how it works, and I'll have to think about it more later. And there were a few entrants who had that kind of communication in their work, and I didn't expect anybody to have an audit. Obviously, that doesn't make sense. But that communication there was there for a very small handful of people. So I was happy to see that.
Yeah, clear communication in any endeavor in life, certainly making a big difference. And I also wondered if you could maybe comment on, we don't have the other two judges here, but one thing I noticed in listening a little bit to the feedback from each of you is that, interestingly, you each chose a different favorite project in each of the categories, which was quite interesting to see. And it just goes to show that there are certainly points of view that differ on that. What do you make of that? Speaking from, you know, maybe how you judge things versus knowing those two other guys, how they look at things.
Well, yeah, that's the point. Knowing the three judges, anybody who knows the three of us would immediately think, oh, these guys are going to choose wildly different projects. So Callan is an engineer's engineer. You know what I mean? He's been writing software at a very deep and broad level, both, right? He's super pro engineer. He knows his shit backwards and forwards when it comes to coding. And so, I mean, that's obviously going to be the easiest thing for him to look for, although it may not be like exactly what he chooses. And Josh is literally a businessman who's also a genius programmer, right? Like, so he can do everything. He's one of those guys that can do everything. He can do the UI, he can do user experience, he can do marketing, he can bring people together, he can manage teams, he can do all the things. He's a true entrepreneur. So that would obviously be the bent that he goes for, right? I mean, maybe not exactly, but that's his space. So yeah, I'm not surprised at all that each of us had different things that we're interested in.
Yes, and we might try and get some comments from them in their absence to publish afterwards. But it was certainly fascinating for me because still knowing all three of you, I thought there would be a chance that, you know, one or two projects would rise clearly to the top. That's just the nature of a competition. You often have that, but actually it proved to be quite varied Okay, so speaking of that, you know, we should get on to the main event, which is announcing the winners of the various categories. So we have, starting with the bounties, would be the first off. We had 10 bounties being offered. We had 4 for the best chip from each of the 4 chips in the Layla upgrade, and we had 6 others. Of those, we only had 1 that didn't get a relevant submission, but all the rest have been awarded except for one of those 4 chips, which was judged by Jason, and he determined that there had not been a submission that had sufficiently demonstrated the value. But from the bounties, we have the list here. So congratulations to kavinm, end of the table, Strong Safe, UT-Sam, and Moonsettler for winning these various bounty categories. I believe Jonathan will be sending out your BCH rewards probably as we as we speak right now. Looks like he's already getting the wallets going. Now, for those projects, of course, you should definitely follow up and speak to the sponsors of the bounty, because our idea is that things should carry on from here. It should not be, okay, you got the bounty, you know, great job, and you won some BCH, but they only offered those bounties with the idea to accelerate those projects or build them into a real product in the BCH ecosystem. And I will say for myself, offering those 2 bounties, I was very, very happy with the submissions that I received, because like I said, both of them, I'm going to be following up on finding ways to fund those projects and hire the guys that worked on those projects, because they did a great job. And for me, it was just a case of finding talent acquisition in the scene. That was the most important thing, and that definitely delivered for us. The bounties was super popular overall. Do you have some thoughts, Emergent?
The bounties are awesome. The bounties are fantastic. I love seeing all these and the various, you know, angles that people come at it from and the values that they have. I wanted to mention the one for Web of Trust. I'm not surprised at all that nobody submitted. That's an incredibly difficult topic. An incredibly difficult, that one spans, you know, the requirements span a huge number of different areas. So yeah, but yeah, the bounties are fantastic. I really hope we continue doing those and allowing people to contribute those.
Turek puts a smiley face in the chat saying true. Yes, a difficult topic, but there's some potential, given how popular the bounty system was, to potentially make it a year-round thing, to somehow offer a BLAZE, you know, bounty board that people
can, right? Like, what if you double it every year and it's like, well,
eventually somebody's
at some point.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it was also fascinating to see the way that projects, like the community, organically distributes itself across the bounties. It was not like, I mean, we had 10 bounties. Yeah. It's not like one got 5 submissions and the rest got 0. Actually, there was a good spread of 1 to 2 submissions across a number of the different projects. And also the projects here had the potential to be in, you know, contention for the main prizes, but there was clearly a little bit of a trade-off in terms of, if you're trying to cater to the submission requirements for a bounty, then that's maybe distracting from your ability to produce something that would appeal to the judges, because exactly like Emergent was saying, the bounty sponsors are their own people with their own metrics and criteria. So I've been very pleased with the success of the bounties. We have a little bit of feedback here on the next slide, just from Jason Dreisner about his judging. So he gave 3 of the best chips to the Lamport signature project. Especially noticeable, I think, is this one about pay to script. Due to the pay to script unlocking bytecode length limit unification, Lamport is able to include large quantum ready signatures in standard unlocking bytecode 3,768 bytes, reducing wallet complexity and transaction sizes versus a multi-input covenant approach. So it's just great to see all of the Layla upgrades already bearing fruit, and that this project potentially would not have even been possible without what is kind of a small little niche change as part of the pay-to-script chip. But he did feel like none of the BCH Blaze projects demonstrated sufficient user-facing value to award the functions chip bounty. While some of the projects did include Optifine and Op-Invoke in contract code, these uses resulted in both equivalent order complexity and overall longer contracts when compared to inlining the defined functions. So maybe that's something for next year that we can maybe re-offer that bounty and see what happens there. I'm sure with 1 year to cook on it, people will be coming up with all kinds of new ideas in that regard. Okay, all right, let's get on to the main event then. We have our mainnet track. Drum roll, please. And for our second to fifth place with 0.5 BCH each, we have FortressVault, BadgerSurvivors, Jump to Layer 1, and EternalCash. So congratulations to all of those projects. Clearly the judges were impressed by your submissions. Emergent, I don't know if you want to comment on this. Any favorites among this bunch from your rankings, or any comments on the submissions overall?
Yeah, absolutely. The diversity here is off the charts with these 4 projects, right? So FortressVault is a very practical business type oriented, not only business, but especially business oriented type setup or individual, wealth savings type thing. Very useful, very practical project for very basic finance. I love it. BadgerSurvivors is literally just fun gaming, and you can actually use your tokens to do stuff with it. And so it's a fantastic proof of concept. Like, that's Sayoshi's niche, apparently, is just proving every concept that there is. And EternalCash is one where it took something that existed already and extended it into a new way that instead of just using BCH, it now allows you to use tokens to do this basic financial protocol. And then Jump to Layer 1 is like this whole other universe of thing, right? And a hugely important thing, which we mentioned at the beginning, which is, although maybe Jonathan would like to focus things on like transactions and so forth going forward, I'm actually happy that the criteria were wide enough this time to allow Jump to Layer 1, because this is a really impressive project. You could do a very sloppy AI thing where you say, oh, here's an EVM contract, please translate it into, Bitcoin Cash, into Cash VM. You could do that in a very sloppy way, but this project has been done in a very serious way. If you look at the content of it that the AI has been trained on, it's probably the best set of guidance and criteria and examples that exists anywhere on the internet for making Bitcoin Cash stuff, and then additionally translating from EVM to Bitcoin Cash. So yeah, the diversity here is wild. It's great. I'm not surprised. These are all good.
Yeah, it goes to show the different layers of the BCH stack as well too, kind of like helping out developers with Jump to Layer 1, and then you have like institutions maybe, or large whales with Fortress. You kind of have end users and a more casual approach with Badgers, and then you have like financializations, DeFi bro kind of style maybe with the EternalCash. So yeah, a big shout out to all these projects, fantastic submissions, and I look forward to seeing where they develop to over the next year or so. It should be fascinating to see. Okay, and our winner, drum roll, for the mainnet track for 2.5 BCH is bch-ipfs-scrape. So congratulations to
Wow.
9500 for his submission there. Emergent, you're already reacting.
Oh yeah, this is a big surprise. So he was very high up on my list, but I thought I was going to be a weird case who valued this one, because again, this isn't one where what the project does is it allows you to scrape the whole blockchain collect a certain type of data called BCMR data, collect all that, parse it, understand it, validate it, and then make it available offline, in this case for IPFS, but you could use that for any purpose. And so, but there were a bunch of, so when you just describe the project, it's like, okay, that's neat, kind of. But what set this one apart for me was just the whole package. So it has a very clear scope, knows what it wants to do. It does that. And it not only like randomly goes and scrapes stuff, it like actually validates all the data. And then it brings it all in and it formats and it puts it in a very useful format. And then it makes that available. And then it also has an app on top of that with the IPFS node that lets you sit there and observe your scrape data and make sure that you have all the data there. So I don't know. Again, this is one that would fail on the criteria of makes transactions, but it succeeds on the criteria of there's a business need, which I have seen myself, right? There's a lot of this BCMR stuff is like these registries of data on tokens, and getting access to that data is not trivial at all. And so this is a real business need for infrastructure, right? Not for end users, but for infrastructure. And this project just delivered it, just done. And it's done, and it also has the UI for how to do it, and it's all validated. So I was just impressed with the overall picture. You know, when I looked at my judging criteria, it ticked a bunch of the boxes that I just didn't expect it to tick, but there it was.
Yeah, I also found this interesting from the point of view that the 8-day hacking window, I think, lends itself well to a sort of medium complexity type of project. You know, a very high complexity project is going to be hard to do in the time frame of a hackathon, and a simple project is going to be good, especially if you can deliver it well and do a good job, but between people maybe getting to grips with the tooling or something like that. Whereas if you're coming in, you're already prepared, you paid attention to the workshops we did at BLAZE, you've already tried things out, you already have your tech stack ready to go. On day one, you have a clear idea and you just start working, but you make sure that by day 8, the whole thing comes together. Like you said, the UI is there, there's not, you know, bugs in it, there's not questions about it, it's very clear what it does, but it also has at least 1 or 2 layers of like, wow, and then they did this and this. Then suddenly that's going to be very impressive to the judges. A complicated thing that is maybe a bit messy might win points for being a grand idea, but it's hard to deliver that. And a simple project can also be impressive, but if it doesn't have those hooks of like, oh, wow, you know, this is something I really wasn't expecting, it can also be outcompeted. That was sort of my observation.
Yeah. When it comes to, like Jonathan said at the beginning, Shark Tank, delivering people, the 3 of us judges who were all talking about business use cases and economic use cases, you know, delivering a fully functioning thing is highly valuable, right? So for business people, that's very valued, right? Just having an idea is not worth very much, but having a big idea that you don't deliver on is whatever, but a small idea that you deliver perfectly on can be extremely valuable. And this one did that.
Yeah, so congratulations.
And not to say that it's a small one. There's a lot of work going on here. This BCMR stuff is not simple. So this was a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be able to bring it into and keep it maintained, and it'll just become part of the default BCH infrastructure stack that we all rely on, right?
Yeah.
Be interesting to see how it can be monetized as well, too. That will be another angle to take things on.
I was surprised to see this one come up. I totally didn't think that one of my top picks would show up as the number 1, because I thought it was a weird top pick. But then I wasn't sure if it was going to be this one or the Dance.cash. Like that was the other one. I wasn't sure which one was going to come up on number 1 here.
There you go. Okay. Well, anyway, congratulations to 9,500, 2.5 BCH. That's a good chunk of change for a few days' work, I'll say. And yeah, hope to see more from that project in the future. Okay, so that was the Mainnet track. We have, of course, also the Chipnet track, which required the usage of the Layla upgrades. So it was kind of like the higher bar to jump over, and certainly also the prizes were a little bigger to incentivize that as well too. I think we had a total of 8 submissions for the Chipnet track, and we have prizes for 3rd, 2nd, and 1st place. But firstly, we want to give an honorable mention to two projects that just missed out, but CoinGraze and FlowGuard both had clear potential that the judges recognized and were impressed by, but with such tough competition, they weren't able to sneak into the prizes. I don't know, Emergent, if you had any thoughts on either of these ones.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say anything negative, but it was just hard with CoinGraze because significant part of it is still closed source, which I totally understand. He's running a business, but some of those closed source parts were pretty important to understanding it and to judging it well. And then there were a few other issues, but actually, yeah, it's an obviously interesting, and I think he's going to be successful anyway. The one with FlowGuard, yes, I had a lot of notes that I took about FlowGuard. I was very interested in. That's the one that was personally, I need that. I need that as an app in my business. So I was very interested in that one, and it actually ranked pretty high for me within the Chipnet group. But yeah.
Maybe the other judges weren't as much like, I definitely need that, you know.
I absolutely need it. Yeah, I'm not sure why it didn't rank up there, but we'll find out, I guess.
Yes. Okay. So anyway, both of those projects, just really wanted to give them a shout out because there was a lot of great feedback from the judges about them. And yeah, it's just a tough field. So I only just barely missed it. Close, but no cigar. Okay. So our third place prize went to Crypto Focus Garden by salemkode. Congratulations. 1 BCH prize and 1 BLISS ticket for this meditation and focus, I guess, productivity focused app. Emergent, did you grow some trees, some tree NFTs?
I absolutely did. Yeah, of course. I try everything, especially here. I tried everything in it, and so I got some good focus in on during my judging period, and it's fun. This is another one of those projects that did the full package. So it's not a super complicated thing. It has a very simple central concept to it, but he packaged it up and it all fit together and it works. And there it is. It's nice to use, easy to use, and a pleasure to use.
Yeah, I also thought the graphic design on this one was quite good as well. Even just that pixel art style, just having a unique look or style, I think can also jump out, especially as we're in, like you mentioned, a world where people can AI generate things. And even if the project as a whole is quite impressive, if something is just AI generated with a lot of care and detail going into the front end or the design, it can just come off a little bit generic, you know, sometimes. So when I was really impressed when I opened this up, and instantly I felt like the isometric look, you know, it grabbed me personally. I thought this was a great project. I was very impressed by it.
And yeah, for my judging at least, like, of course, the appearance and all of that can give you like bonus, you know, or tie-breaking type things. But that wasn't what raised this one up in my rank. This was actually my top rank. My top rank on Chipnet was this one. And it's not because it was doing some crazy, amazing thing. It was that it ticked all the boxes. So he picked a meaningful use case in area, gaming and productivity, which is developing any gamification of those things, right? So that's a totally valid use case, and to explore how to use the tokens when you do that. The other is in his code, it was pretty clear. So he pointed out things, everything was well organized. He said, this is what's done, this is not what's not done. In his contract, if you look in his contract, he was one of the very few that did get a point from me on the security point, because if you look at his contract, he has extensive notes on what's going on in the contract. And that's very rare. Like if you look at my contracts that I wrote for AnyHedge, they're super simple, but they're like 80% comments and 20% code because you're dealing with some very powerful and dangerous lines of code when you're writing contracts. So I appreciated that. And then of course, like I said at the end, the whole thing just works and it all fits together, which is always bonus points.
Yeah, amazing. Fantastic delivery there. And everyone can go and start growing their little NFT trees with the crypto.
And collecting
tokens.
NFTs. Yeah,
That's
I have
right,
my own
exactly.
little tree NFTs. Yeah.
Yeah, fun. I think things that bring a smile to your face also as well. Similar to Sayoshi's project. If there's just a little bit of humans always love just something a little fun, right? Okay, but that was only enough to sneak into third place. For second place, we have the runner-up, the Lamport 160 Quantum Signature project by Moonsettler for 3 BCH and a special edition BLISS ticket as well. Congratulations. I think this was probably the most technically dense of all of the projects by quite a significant margin.
By a few orders of magnitude.
Yeah. Addressing a very critical use case with quantum signatures, but a very, very impressive effort, and certainly one of the judges were struggling to wrap their heads around, I would say, a little bit. Emergent, what did you make of this one?
That's a big understatement, because you said one of the judges was struggling to understand it, but the judge who was struggling to understand it is a genius and also understands cryptography well, and just didn't have the time to really dig into it and fully understand it. But he took extensive notes to understand it, and I think he did get the gist that it's going in the right direction at the very least. And also knowing the person, Moonsettler, he's just not a person to bullshit, right? If it wasn't working or he didn't think it working, he wouldn't say it was working. But it works. So you could take it and you could do the demo and you could run it on BitAuth. I would guess it's very hard to say counterfactuals, but I would guess whatever is in first place. If this project, if he had actually dedicated the time, right? Because he came in at like the 11th hour and submitted this. If this actually had like good packaging where it, explained what it is, explained how it works, gives it a decent UI so that you can actually understand why it's useful and why it's meaningful and all that stuff, this would be a very, very hard project to beat, especially on the Chipnet track, because it literally uses, I'm not sure if it used functions, but it used most. It did use, okay, so yeah, but it used all the Chipnet stuff, and it's a meaningful economic use case. I don't know if he has a security mindset, because this was so rushed that there were very little notes in here. But it's literally about security. Right? It's like quantum security, like being safe in a cryptographically quantum relevant world. But yeah, this is an impressive submission, and very happy to see it.
Yes, very glad to have Moonsettler jumping into the BCH community and seemingly enjoying himself, I would say, quite a lot in building this out and having access to a lot of the tools and stuff that the BTC community are not able to ship. Okay, well, that comes to our grand winner for the Chipnet track. Drum roll. The winner was Mean-Reversion Portfolio Rebalance by Jerry from Optin Labs. 5 BCH and a BLISS ticket to be distributed there. Certainly just a massive effort from him, and scored very highly, of course, with all the judges. I think for, again, on that same theme of just having a full package that brought everything together. Emergent, what did you make of this one?
Yeah, it's this is another lesson, I guess, for people who are doing who are participating in hackathons. What it actually does under the hood is not really that complicated, right? The concept of it is very simple. I thought it was going to be way more complicated than it was. When I read the name, I was like, oh, what the hell does that mean? But then when I looked into the details of it, it's pretty straightforward. It does a very useful thing. It's basically a financial primitive for rebalancing. If you have a 1 BCH and 100 tokens, it allows it to rebalance those based on the relative value of them. So it's a very neat financial primitive. And what it did well is it just has clear documentation. Here's what the project is. Here's how it works. these are the parts of the project. This is where you run this. This is how you do that. This is the part that does this. And then each part of it just did its job, because this is relatively complex token and script management stuff, right? So it just showed you how to go through it and how to execute and how to do the rebalancing process. So it was just very clearly laid out, which was one of my specific criteria, right? So it checked several of my boxes along the way.
Yeah, so like I said, each of the judges had a different first place position. So to get into that top 3 required each of the judges, one of the judges, to give you full marks. So it really is about delivering a full project that can be appreciated from a variety of angles, and just, yeah, delivers something clean that works and that is needed. Like, this is going to be increasingly in the era of BCH having stable coins, right? We already have Moria USD, we have Parity USD coming up in just a couple of days. People were thinking, you know, about doing composite tokens as well, and all that more advanced financialization. Just automating a lot of that stuff is really where cryptocurrency as a whole can and has shined in the world, right? So I think it's a very smart choice of project and well delivered. So congratulations to Jerry.
Congratulations.
Okay, and we have also just our final category of prizes, the community choice prizes. Once again, we want to give an honorable mention to our sort of runners-up here. USSD.cash and Jump to Layer 1 both received a ton of support from the community with the Ember voting, and that was very impressive to see. This year, we did only have just the one prize, but I feel like maybe next year we'll need to find a way to split that up and maybe have rewards for second and third place, because of all the prizes, the community choice seemed to get the most community interest as well, too. Of course, people being able to vote themselves adds a little bit to the excitement, but also the hackers themselves in the BCH BLAZE Telegram were very excitable and asking about who had been receiving votes and, you know, what could they do to be more appealing. I had people reaching out to me saying, how can I be more visible and more impactful to the community with my project? Jonathan, maybe you can just chime in on this a little bit. I know that you have been watching as well the Embers quite closely, and it was ultimately an experiment on our part, right?
Yeah, so we wanted to make sure that the community that does voting was people that are actually in the community, people who care about the outcome of these results, and not just be some Twitter poll or some other place where it's easy to set up bots and just game the entire thing. So we went with the trade-off of minting some tokens and airdropping them to previous ticket holders for the BCH BLISS conferences. This makes sure that they are aligned with the mission, because no one would buy a BLISS ticket if they didn't believe in the mission of BCH. But it also set up some risks for us, like people could trade them, buy and sell them, and try to game the actual vote that way. As it turned out, my understanding for the expected price for an Ember was roughly going to be $1 or less. That's my thinking of it. Effectively, how much would you actually need to buy in order to secure a win in the vote, and how much is that win actually worth? And just divide them by each other. As it turned out, right away, right off the bat, the price has shot up and has stayed $20 or higher essentially the entire time, making it financially infeasible to game the vote that way, which has been kind of fun to watch. But it also means we have some deterrent, like not everyone wants to vote because the tokens are worth something. You don't want to get rid of them. But in the end, this is all like for fun, right? We're engaging the community. We're doing something that's novel. We're making sure that you guys out there can take part and be with us when we do this. And so when you look at the various competitions, you can see that some of these projects did a really good job at marketing and trying to attract Embers from the community. And this is why USSD.cash has done really well. I highly appreciate their effort in this part. And then towards the end of the competition, when the last part went in and jumped, the actual winner jumped up and took the #1 spot towards the end of it. It was kind of interesting to watch that dynamic.
Yeah, of course, people are going to be, maybe holding off until they have last minute. Of course, like we always mention, there's always that exponential as the deadline ticks down. Maybe a lot of holders are aware of what's going on, but they think, look, let me just save my embers until the last.
You can't. There's no undo button, right? With these things, it's not like wait, I changed my mind. No.
True. You have to be.
That's why I waited until the last minute. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Then you were just dumping off, and I also thought it was quite fun in my own voting, to think about how to split up the tokens. Right, having been to both BLISS, so I had quite a few tokens. Then you don't have to vote them all for one project, right? It was like, how much can I justify giving multiple tokens to one project versus supporting the various different ones that I found interesting? It was really quite something to play around with.
I enjoyed it too, like as a judge, because I could vote for the ones that weren't necessarily on my criteria, but were my personal favorites. You know what I mean? The personal things that I liked that didn't necessarily follow criteria. So yeah, they're great.
Yes. And I think, for anybody who was involved in BLAZE as a whole, definitely there's something to take away from that for next year in terms of getting the word out there about the project. Of course, strictly speaking, the judges are going to look at your project one way or another. They're going to deep dive on it and all of that. But for the community at large, that's not necessarily the case. To attract those votes, you first have to have somebody taking a look at what your project is doing. They're under no obligation to look over every different project. And so I think Cosmos and Clara on the Builder interview, I think they did an amazing interview. And I'm sure that also helped them get the word out there. And that was because they volunteered to do it. They came to us and I said, does anybody want to do the interview? They jumped on. They had the two of them were very presentable. They obviously had a special focus as well on the marketing, and I think they are a great team that will also be following up with afterwards, because getting them building regularly in the BCH ecosystem, I think would be amazing. Okay, all right. So the winner here for the community choice was the Lamport signature project. Congratulations to Moonsettler for his fantastic effort with that, and clearly getting a lot of appreciation for the community in, I guess, using the different Layla upgrades and in showing the way technically for people considering switching from the BTC tech stack to try out the BCH tech stack. I believe we have him here live on the call. Moonsettler, do you want to say hello maybe?
He's on the moon. He's busy.
He's in the chat. I was hoping to ask him his thoughts on the project. No. All right. Well, I guess we're definitely going to have to test the guest speakers better for next time. But in any case, that was just an amazing effort, and I also wanted to give Jonathan maybe a chance to speak to this project, because I know it was something he was certainly most interested in as a member of the community.
Yeah, I really think this is an important part. It's a very small and isolated example that demonstrates why the decision to build a cash VM the way we have done it is valuable, rather than making a consensus and forward solution to the potential quantum problem, so to speak. We extended the engine, the virtual machine, so that it can do all of these things directly in script, allowing different solutions to compete against each other's. And I think this Lamport SIG submission, it might not have had the best presentation around it, but it uses a lot of different features that does not exist in all of the other places that we are competing against. And it also showcases that if you are someone who is building on Bitcoin today, and you think that what you are fighting for, like CTV, OpCap, the Great Skip Restoration, if you think these things are valuable, think again. Come look at the Cash VM, get a feel for how it feels to actually use it. And then when you go back to BTC, I'm fairly sure that you're going to feel that the solutions you're fighting for is actually lacking to some degree. And yeah, also you don't need to wait. You can just go build stuff right now, today. It's all there already.
Yes.
Yeah.
BCH is actually implementing the old maximalist concept, right? Which is Bitcoin will observe the rest of the world, and anything that's fantastic and important and safe and useful, Bitcoin will make use of it. And that's exactly what BCH has done. Because, well, you know the second part of that phrase, BCH is.
Moonsettler, how did you find it?
Can you hear me now? Hi,
Yes.
guys.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I had a technical issue. I had to reload the site. So I very much enjoyed it. Enjoyed working with the tools and with this new VM. So I'm really happy that I was pestered into participating. I have been putting this thing off for a very long time. I had it in my mind that, of course, you could definitely do it very well with this new Cash VM. But you know, there was always something else. And again, I'm happy that I gave in and did it.
How long did it take you to actually make that? Because I mean, it's technically very impressive, right? What you did in a short amount of time.
So I had the basic idea how to do Lamport signatures with OpCat for a good while now. But
okay, it's been in your head.
Yeah, not very practical for various reasons. So Catalog makes it technically possible, but you really want to have a lot more opcodes for this to be like not even user friendly, just wallet and protocol friendly, right? So
yes.
And that was one interesting revelation from this project, is that you of course can always just verify an operation. You can do the opposite and verify the results, but that's awfully inefficient. So yeah, you can do basically anything with OpCat alone with the other opcodes, but you really want to have op split. You want to have the opposite because it's very useful. Like taking a single dense blob and unpack it into a complex structure on stack, op split is like the best opcode for that. So
yeah, it's not only useful, but it's safer, right? It's extremely dangerous to be doing complex byte manipulation on that kind of thing. So I mean, because you know, technically a pile of rocks can be Turing complete depending on how you use them, but that doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Yeah. So to your question, I had the basic idea in my head for a long time, but how you would actually implement it very efficiently in this new VM, that was very recent. So I started to seriously taking a look at it like maybe 2-3 days before the end of submission. And it was very intuitive. So I have to say, without reading the documentation, just jumping into it, I could actually work with it. So I have to say, very good job on the tools as well as the language. So there were a few surprising things, of course. That's what you get for not reading the docs. But overall, it's like playing a difficult game. So I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
And do you think you'll be able to convince other people from the BTC ecosystem to try that out? And also, like I've been speaking with you about, maybe do you think this will help you advocate in the BTC ecosystem for these various upgrades by them being able to see here's a proof of concept and so forth?
Yeah, I hope so. I will definitely try. Right now, I very much like this approach, like making Bitcoin script into a more general language that can do a lot of stuff, including covenants and post-quantum signature schemes and all kinds of stuff, whatever people want to build. As demonstrated by this thing, I was able to build a post-quantum contract in, let's say, like 12 hours of work, really. So if you take the network, 12 hours probably could have been even less. And compared to any consensus change, it just takes years to contemplate, to debate the pros and cons. So we should, I believe, really unleash this innovative energy. Let thousands of developers just do stuff and prove them out in the wild, and let people adopt them if they wish. Like someone who has very significant amounts of Bitcoin, maybe they are saying, okay, I trust elliptic curve signatures, so I'm not going to go to a completely new cryptography, but I would sleep better if I had something that would make that elliptic curve signature immutable, right? And something that I can audit, verify, try out, and test and use optionally. That's also a very important thing, I believe. So early quantum migration is very costly. The post-quantum signature schemes have a huge footprint. So maybe you want to use them only when you know there is a high chance that your transaction might be a target for short-range attacks, right? So that's another thing. I am very much against an early migration to post-quantum signatures where you just throw a script out and you just use these giant clunky new signature schemes that a lot of them are really untried. And that is why I chose Lamport, because it does not really have any novel assumptions. All you need to do Lamport signatures is string concatenation and the cryptographic hash function. It's very easy to understand. I believe anyone could get it if I made better presentations for it, but I did not.
Well, maybe for next time.
Yeah, I wanna jump in here a bit. So for BLAZE, we had 4 different chips, right? The loops, the functions, the bitwise, and the pay-to-script changes. And almost all of the projects that submitted for the Chipnet track used only loops. There are some that tried to use bitwise, but I didn't see anyone, generally speaking, like using a lot of different chips. But your submission, Moonsettler, it used all 4 of them.
Yeah, and Jason was correct in that it does not make my use in the demo contract. My use of functions does not make much sense. But if you want to use multiple Lamport signatures, you want to verify multiple Lamport signatures, it immediately makes sense. And I really like how it looks on the contract, so I would have included just for that, because I actually like how it looks. But it starts to become efficient the moment you can reuse code. And the loops are actually the reason why you see so little code, so little function use, because they make code very reusable, very naturally. So
amazing.
Right, so I have a follow-up question. So next year, this thing goes live. What is still missing? Right? Is there any problems you had along the way? Is there anything that you feel that this virtual machine is lacking that you would have wanted to have there?
So I don't think there is anything significant that it's lacking, but you could make a lot of optimizations. So one thing that I really wished I could have is a very simple way to just run a code n times, like 8 times, like a for loop without interacting with any state on the stack. Just run 8 times this code, or 20 times, or whatever. That would be very useful in a lot of cases, safer as well, because if you have to manage your exit condition and the state you are working with on stack, things get more complicated, code gets harder to read and all that stuff. And it also gets more expensive. So the byte cost of it, the on-chain footprint gets more expensive. So I really wished when I did this that there were just fixed number of iterations loops. And the other thing that I run into is that these binary operations fail if your operands are of different size. And that makes it actually really clunky to work with them in code. You can use num to bin, but it takes a lot of opcodes to actually make your operands of the same size. And so I, for example, ended up using in my project a modulo opcode. So that is the remainder of the division, the op mode. And I ended up using a much more expensive operation because it was more dense in on-chain footprint. I tried to optimize this contract to as little bytes as possible, aside from the function invocation. And so I originally just wanted to use op-end, like the simplest operation in computer science. You just check the least significant bit, if it's 1 or 0, and then make a swap or not make a swap as I go up a Merkle tree. That in any other language I would have used op-end. But in Bitcoin script, since the operation needs to be protected from unexpected failure, depending on the size of the operands, I ended up using op mode. So little things like that, nothing that you can't deal with, but probably things where you could make the language more efficient in on-chain footprint with a few other opcodes.
I see.
Amazing.
That's interesting to hear. Thank you.
I think Moonsettler would probably be entertained that although you chose division to accomplish the task, that actually had a higher cost from a virtual machine perspective. The division has a very expensive cost on the internal accounting of the transaction than probably a number of others. So the script was probably smaller, but the cost from a script perspective was higher.
It has like a multiplicative cost based on the size of the operands, but I always use the 1 byte. So it probably had linear cost still. I think if you actually look at the cost of the operation,
yes. I just meant compared to adjusting for the bitwise.
Yeah, but computationally on a variable size integers, a modulo operation is not something I would use for this, for checking the least significant bit normally.
Of course.
The economy of the contract comes out where I was like really byte crunching on the locking script, and I ended up using that. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, one final question, Moonsettler. Do you have any follow-up ideas? Are you going to be maybe seeing if you can put this into some BCH wallets, or do you have any other BCH style project you might be interested in attempting?
So I kind of think that Jason's quantum root proposal will be more practical, more mature, more efficient. So I don't think it makes a lot of sense to implement Lamport signatures for production. Maybe. I think it's a very good demo case, especially like I said, this is not something that is complicated to understand. If presented well, this algorithm is very, very easy to understand to anyone who knows the basics of Bitcoin. So it's a very good demo, very good technical demo. It demonstrates the capabilities of the VM. It shows how efficient you can make this, how dense the signature is, how small it is compared to how Lamport signatures are taught in general. People can have an intuitive understanding how difficult would this be to break at the short range, etc., etc. So I think I will leave it at I will clean it up a little bit. I will remove comments and code snippets that are not necessary, like debugging artifacts and stuff like that. I will clean it up. I will keep it as a demonstration. Maybe write some documentation for it so that people can more easily understand the code. And I will show it to everyone. I can every time this comes up, loops, not loops, functions. I will bring it out and show them that how much you can save with it actually. That's my plan with this project specifically. Long term, I'm very interested in implementing Lightning symmetry and every other Covenant structures that use Lightning symmetry as one of their building blocks. I'm very interested in this particular feature for Bitcoin. And currently, you cannot implement Lightning symmetry on Bitcoin, but you can implement it on Bitcoin Cash. And that is one thing that I'm seriously considering getting heavily involved with. I have multiple things that I have to decide between, but this is definitely one of them.
All right. Okay. Brilliant. Well done, mate. You've done well. You got the community choice. You came second in the Chipnet track, and you also grabbed 3 of the bounties there. So maybe for next time functions. Salemkode
Those
says,
vote tokens are not worth nothing either.
oh, true as well. You've got a big stack.
I would definitely start with a team next time if I could, like not leave things to the last minute and start with a team, because as you said, multiple talents are required. So I maybe put in the engine, but that won't drive on the streets, you know?
Yes, exactly. So we have on the next slide just a list of all the community choice projects, so everyone can see what the voting broke down to there. And of course, it was very cool to see people changing around the rankings and voting live, etc. It was cool to see over 75% of the projects got at least 1 Ember. And of course, for people who are interested in maybe voting next year, well, you might have to come to BLISS and get yourself a Layla NFT so you can be part of the airdrop for next year. So with those Ember tokens, just a quick reminder, they are still trading on Cauldron as of now, but we make no guarantees now that BLAZE is over about the status of those, if they're ever going to have another use or anything like that. It's possible. We can't rule that out, but we just want to be very clear that Ember was for this BLAZE event, and now that's over. And thank you everyone for contributing to that and being involved. I hope you had as much fun as I did, because it was a lot. Okay, and we also have one other reminder about the BCH1 hackcelerator. It's going to be running probably in January. We'll wait and see. I was talking to them about that. They have $20,000 in grants. We will be helping as the BLAZE team to refer the winners across all the different categories into BCH1, but also other promising projects. So our selection is not just entirely based on who won and who didn't, and we're going to help the teams there. So if you just keep an eye out, basically, because I will be in touch, or maybe Jonathan, depending on the project, to help ease you into that, if it might be something you're interested in taking your project further. But it's also not just us. The BCH1 will also be open application. So even if you feel like you are unjustly overlooked, or perhaps maybe the hackathon wasn't the best format, and with a little more development your project can shine, then you will also be able to submit to them yourself. It doesn't require a referral from us. That's just one helpful thing. So we will be in touch with different projects about that, but also pay attention to BCH1. And if you're interested, you can jump in with or without us. That's completely up to you. Okay, we also have just an opportunity for any final thoughts. Perhaps, Jonathan, you might have something to say on how you feel the whole event went as we move close to wrapping things up.
Yeah, I'm super happy with what it went. I hope that all 3 of the finalists for the Chipnet side that got BLISS tokens for next year's conference do come next year's conference. It will be awesome to have you there, and I swear you will meet so many interesting people who are on the same or significantly above your talent level. It's a great place to network and meet the other builders in the ecosystem.
Emergent, did you have any final thoughts from your end in standing in for the judging panel now you've seen all the results?
Yeah, I have 2 things. One is I really hope Dance.cash, Kavinm, his project, I hope he keeps going along with that, and I hope you encourage him to keep going with that. That was one of my top ones that didn't show up in the final rankings.
He won a bounty, so he's all good. He got one.
Yeah, he did win a bounty, that's right. But I hope he keeps going, right? And that's my second point, is that you don't even have to wait for an accelerator. If you think you have a good idea, you think you have a good protocol or something that's meaningful, or a game that could take off, or whatever it is that you have, just go ahead and do it. And there are tools for helping you to accomplish that, because money is often the limiting factor, right? So Sayoshi, who did the Badgers project, also has another one called fundme.cash. There's also Flipstarter, which you can use to crowdfund some kind of project if you think there's something important that needs to get done. Don't wait for somebody else to make it happen. Just go and try to make it happen yourself.
Yes, that's it. Okay, we've got to give a shout out to our sponsors. Thank you to all of them for their support throughout the entire event. BCH Bull, a unique web application that allows users to take long positions with leverage or hedge Bitcoin Cash against a number of other metals, fiat and crypto assets. bchbbull.com. General Protocols, who pride themselves on developing permissionless, trustless, borderless financial solutions for the whole world, working at the frontier of UTXO blockchain development. GeneralProtocols.com, the Bitcoin Cash podcast, combining the latest cryptocurrency and Bitcoin Cash news with deep dives on BCH topics, featuring a variety of guests from the BCH community at BitcoinCashPodcast.com. Selene Wallet, putting easy, no hassle, instant payments in the palm of your hand. Experience the future of money, a global digital economy powered by Bitcoin Cash at Selene.cash. Cash Stamps, allowing users to create and redeem BCH stamps for gifts, promotion, and adoption of Bitcoin Cash at Stamps.cash. The Blockchain for Good Alliance, who harness the transformative power of blockchain technology to tackle some of the most critical challenges facing societies and the world at large today at chainforgood.org. They will also be awarding, I believe, $500 in USDT to their favorite project. So we will follow up with that and put that in the group, follow up with whoever won that. BCH1 is the signal layer for Bitcoin Cash, community discovery, builder velocity, capital alignment, bch-1.org, and Big Hair Tom, an old timer that wants wallet addresses simplified. A reminder that the BCH bank run will be coming up on the 1st of December. The Bitcoin Cash community's bi-monthly event on the 1st and 15th, where we force the exchanges to honor at least some of their commitments by withdrawing the BCH from them, and therefore creating visibility and interest in Bitcoin Cash, as well as education around self-custody. And just a final sign-off from me and from the BLAZE team in general, that now it's going to be up to all of you guys. Please crack on with your projects. BLAZE is not supposed to be a one-off journey. It's supposed to be more like the spark that starts a whole inferno. Obviously, we're here to help, so you can reach out to us. Now you will have those existing contact channels to us, and there will be BCH1 coming up and also BLISS, which are great places to continue for finding support, collaborators, investment, advice, whatever you need. That's what the BCH community is here for. And thank you for participating. I hope you had a good time. Seems like at least some people have. And if you have any feedback, you can definitely reach out to us and let us know about that. It was our first time doing it. I think we're very happy with how it all ran, and we'll seriously consider returning it for a repeat performance next year. But there's a lot that goes into it behind the scenes, and it's not for anything unless people show up to be part of it and put in the amazing effort that you all did with the number of projects. We have one final cash stamp for whoever is ready with their finger on the trigger to scan that. I've loved giving those away. That's been quite a fun use of BCH. And just our final reminders, of course, you can contact us at BLAZE on the DoraHacks page, on Telegram at BCHBlaze, on Twitter at BCHBlaze as well. And especially now that BLAZE is over, if you're interested in following all that's happening in the BCH ecosystem, you can follow the Bitcoin Cash podcast and also the BCH Bullet at the bchbullet.substack.com. Okay, thank you all for watching and being part of the inaugural BLAZE. Moonsettler gives one final shout out to BCH Autist for his help with the tools and demonstration on Chipnet, a legend of the community. I'm kind of half surprised he didn't put in a hackathon project actually, but maybe next year. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you again next year. This has been BCH BLAZE 2025. go.
And we're back.
All right, one final announcement that I realized, of course, the second that I said we were done, is that the prizes have already been sent out to the addresses that were listed on the Dora Hacks project. So if you won any prize in any of those categories, a bounty, community choice, or the Chipnet or Mainnet projects, any of those, they've all been sent out, including the BLISS tickets. So if you won some of those in the Chipnet category, you can get a sneak peek of what your Layla is looking like. You can jump onto that. Okay, thank you all for watching. Until next time.